Alrighty, so here we will cover the gas exchange. So, unlike what most people think, the gas exchange is not respiration. Gas exchange is breathing, and breathing is not respiration. The gas exchange, as the name might suggest, is the exchange of between oxygen and waste gases such as H2O and carbon dioxide. So, the first things first, the actual lung structure themselves. So, you start at the larynx, which is your voice box. The air then goes through the trachea, also known as windpipe. However, you'll get extra points for calling it trachea, though windpipe is also okay. After which, it splits into two parts. The left bronchus, which is this side here, and the right bronchus, which is this side here. That continues to split up into bronchioles, which are basically just these parts here, right? Okay. And on the very tips of the bronchioles, you will find avioli. Avioli are these little, pretty much tree branches, with cherry-looking things, in which the gas exchange actually conducts, and there are capillary networks on them. So, but how do you actually breathe? How do you actually move your lungs? Well, basically, on your rib cage, between your ribs, which protects the lungs, there are these muscles called intercoastal muscles. The ones on the outside are called intercoastal major, and the ones on the inside are called intercoastal minor. You don't have to know that, though. You just have to know that it's intercoastal. Anyhow, when these muscles contract, right, your overall ribs also contract, meaning you decrease the volume of your lungs. And that's the opposite with the diaphragm. The diaphragm sits just underneath the lung structure. When it contracts, it actually expands, creating a vacuum, and then that vacuum pulls the lungs outwards, generating a larger volume. You will absolutely need that in the upcoming IGCSE exam. So, avioli. This is where the actual gas exchange occurs, and the avioli are adapted in 5 different ways. You will also need to know this. This is pretty vital, actually. Okay, so there are 5 main ways. First things first, large surface area. There is a large surface area between the capillaries and the actual alveoli itself. This allows for an increase in diffusion, which is helpful. Helpful for breathing. It has a moist surface, which basically this may sound a bit crazy, but it actually dissolves the waste products, allowing for an easier diffusion. Allows for easier diffusion. It has a thin surface area to also increase diffusion. Just make it a bit easier for the oxygen and waste products. It has a good supply of blood. The supply of blood is quite vital, because you want a more concentrated amount of blood so that there's a higher amount of gas exchange. And then there is the ventilation of the lungs. That's just basically breathing. Breathing in itself is an advantage. Reason being is, so let's use an example of tapeworms. Tapeworms are thin and they do not have a circulatory system. Same thing with frogs and other more or less smaller insects. And the reason for that is because they're so small, there is a larger concentration of oxygen in the atmosphere than inside of their own bodies, which allows the oxygen just simply to diffuse inside. However, with us as being bigger creatures, we require ventilation in order to get the oxygen into the bloodstream that we need. Now, something a little bit straightforward. When you increase your exercise, your breath count and depth also increases. You conduct more respiration, which means you need more oxygen and more carbon dioxide is released. Now, depth. The only real thing that you need to know from here is the term vital capacity. Vital capacity is the maximum amount of volume. Yes, maximum amounts of volume in the lungs. So at rest, it will be 5 liters for a fully grown adult on average. However, this during exercise it can increase by another 4.5 liters, which personally I find that quite incredible. And an example of how this happens is through homeostasis, which I've already covered. Basically, say you start running. Once you start running, your muscle cells, start to use up more, all of that oxygen for energy, ATP, and as a result, release more carbon dioxide. Now, if you do chemistry, you will know that non-metals plus an oxygen is an acidic oxide. So this overall increases the pH of the blood. Now, once your blood has circulated through to the brain, your brain will pick up that there is an increase in acidity in the bloodstream, and it will tell the lungs to breathe more. By them breathing more, they release all of that carbon dioxide, and they have an increase in oxygen, which goes to the cells, and thereby everything and every part of your body is happy. And that pretty much just covers it. Next, we will cover respiration.